Inner Peace, Better Health, where healing meets honesty. I'm your host, Shreya. Today, we are diving into a conversation many avoid but absolutely need. What does ADHD really feel like inside the body? And how can understanding that help us find peace and power in our daily lives? Our guest is Sue Day, ADHD coach, founder of Pathways Forward Coaching, and the queen of turning chaos into clarity. She is here to help us unpack the beautiful, brilliant mind body connection hidden with ADHD. Welcome, Sue.
Oh, thank you so much. What a great introduction. And I'm really excited to talk about this mind-body connection with ADHD. It's a complicated relationship.
Yes. And I'm honored to have you on my show. And I think my listeners are really excited to listen to you. Sue, how has your own ADHD journey shaped your understanding of the body-mind connection?
Hmm. Well, start out with maybe a little bit of a side note, which is that ADHD affects everything. Those of us who experience ADHD affects every part of our lives, every part of our bodies, and um, and it is interesting when you. So of course it affects how our body and our mind sort of talk to each other and how they work together. Um, and one of the most fascinating things about ADHD um, is that we are low on both introspection, meaning we don't understand often how we are feeling,
Mm.
and introspection, how we're feeling mentally, and introspection, which means we don't really understand how we're feeling physically. So we often miss cues like we're hungry or cues like we have to go to the bathroom um or cues like we're tired. And sometimes we get those cues, then we still resist them because, because ADHD is we often are a little bit resistant to doing things, even if we know for ourselves that we need to do them. But so there is this interesting disconnect between the mind and the body that I think it actually goes beyond sort of our cultural disconnect in society,
Yes.
but it's even more so for ADHDers.
Yes. And that's such an illuminating perspective. And your journey brings so much wisdom to the body mind conversation. So, was there a turning point where your body told you something your mind hadn't caught up with yet?
Um, it took some coaching for me, and it's fairly recent. Um, and so as I was going through coaching school, I think that's when I first started really feeling the power of it. Um, and as they were teaching us questions to ask people, um, if somebody's really not able to say, what their goals are or what their needs are,
Mm.
then we ask people to imagine getting something positive and and then say, well, where does that how does that feel in your body
Mm.
when you imagine that? And getting people to actually pinpoint where in their body they feel something and what it feels like. And I find it works in both directions when you're talking about something positive. It can be really motivating and encouraging to say, oh, I'm going to feel this way in my body and I'm going to have this relief or the release or whatever is
Mhm.
going to happen. And that's going to help me move forward to get to there. Or if I'm sort of stuck in a rut and I need to figure out what's going on, why can't I get into this other space? Then thinking about, I often ask my clients, where in your body are you feeling this stress? Where in your body are you feeling this emotion that is hard for you to actually even verbalize? And so the understanding of where they find it and what it feels like, it can both help them understand when they feel that, then this is happening. And it can also help them figure out how to release it and change it to something different.
Yes, yes. That's wonderful. And you also talk about the quirky brilliance. So what does that mean in practice for someone navigating health and focus challenges?
Um, so I think coming into your own brilliance is it's all about coming into celebrate yourself,
Yes.
right? And when we have ADHD, those of us with ADHD, we hear so many negative things about ourselves all of our lives. We're not doing this, we're not doing that. And oftentimes it's a moral, like, not only are we not doing that, but we can see that you're capable of it and you're choosing not to do it. So it's this moral weight that is put on our shoulders, and it's just not true. It's not a matter of we won't. It's a matter of we can't. There's something getting in our way. So uncovering our brilliance is partly trying to sweep away all of that negativity that we've heard about ourselves and have internalized into our own ideas of who we are. Trying to sweep away some of that negativity and letting our lights shine. We have amazing gifts. Like as I was talking about the criticisms we get in our lives, is I know you capable to do this because I've seen you do amazing things, but you won't do it here. That's also like, well, let's say I know you're capable of this because I've seen you do amazing things, and take that butt out and say, you can do amazing things. I've seen it happen. Let's look at that, celebrate it, and figure out how to bring that to the surface so you can walk through life knowing that you're capable of addressing what you need to address.
Yes, yes, I think that's wonderful. And sometimes just focusing on ourselves rather than listening to what the other people are saying is the best thing. And also, not very related to this, but in my childhood, I was bullied in my school and with my friends that I had a stuttering problem. So it was hard for me to speak. But today, I'm hosting a podcast. So my job is to speak to other people. So I choose to focus on myself, and I just stand in front of mirror and ask myself that can I improve myself and can I improve this? And I just did it. So I just listened to me and myself, and that's why today I'm here. But if I had to focus on their thoughts, today I'll not be here. I'm talking with you especially. So
Right.
yes, yes. And what's one way someone can reframe their struggles as strengths starting today?
There are, I think, one of the easiest and most potent activities is journaling. Um, if we can end our days um with writing a list, instead of writing a list of all the things we didn't get done and all the things we still have to do tomorrow because we didn't get it done, and you know instead let's write lists of like what we did do, and then also look at it and like, what am I really proud of that I did there? How what does it say about me that I got these things done? Um and almost always I hear people being just flabbergasted by the number of things that they get done. Now, that doesn't mean that we are always focusing our attention or getting the things done that we really need to get done. Sometimes we're doing productive procrastination and we're, getting things done that are in avoidance of the other things that we really need to do. But I think really, honestly, what we need to do is, and there's just so much power in like, but I did these things and I'm really proud of them.
Mm.
And these things say this about who I am as a human. I played with my dogs for an hour and it made them so happy. And, or and whatever you do, it has ripple effects in your life. And so I'm seeing those in the positive and seeing those wonderful things you do on a daily basis can be really empowering.
That's truly, truly inspiring. And you leave the insights and makes this conversation so much more real and relatable. What role does burnout play in the ADHD experience, especially when the body says enough?
That's a tough question. I got to burnout after I realized I was burned out, after probably about 4 years or longer of being really burnt out. And I didn't even notice until I started having, real health problems, like my joints aching and running a low grade fever for a long time. And like, what is going on with me? I didn't, I think probably most of us realize that we're burnt out when our body says, done, we're done, we got to stop. And our body tells us that in ways that we don't want to hear. So, I am actually just trying to create a little bit of a quiz and a handout for people, and I'll send you the link when I get it finished. That is as both an idea of what tells us when we're burnt out, where we lose interest in things we love, we're exhausted all the time. We can't get ourselves to do things that that we used to be able to do. We're letting people down. We're missing things. We're making silly mistakes that aren't, that we wouldn't normally make. And then there's the body signs of like something's wrong. Your joints are aching. Your temperature is up. Whatever that is. So finding out what those signs are, like, so the handout will be, what are the signs? And then how do you catch them early enough
Yes.
so that you can take the steps to prevent that burnout? And it's never an easy journey. To once you start getting burnt out, you've got to do some harder things and to try and get to the other side of it. But every little thing that you can do will help with the end result. And ADHDers are so much more prone to burnout because we're really excited about everything. We really love new things, so we'll say yes to everything. We also maybe have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. Everybody tells us we can't do anything right, so we got to prove everybody that we can do everything we want to do. We can do everything they want us. We can be everything they want us to be, and we just put so much pressure on ourselves to do everything. And we burn out pretty hard.
Yes, yes. And that quiz will be really helpful for my listeners and also for us too. So we'll be waiting for that. And as soon as we got that, we'll be attached that with this podcast so that our listeners can find that easily too. And that's such an important truth that burnout often speaks the words that our mind can't. So thank you for naming with such clarity and that compassion. Uh, do you find that mindfulness and somatic practices are ADHD friendly, or do they need some kind of remix?
They definitely need a little bit, well, so it depends on what you're talking about. There are already many mindfulness practices that don't need to be adjusted because they're small and easily, bite-sized. I would say if you ask an ADHDer to go meditate for half an hour off without practicing and moving into that, it doesn't work. And there's many ADHDers who would not consider that to be something that they would ever be able to try or do. But there are all sorts of other ways. As I just learned this one, which is just rubbing my fingers together and noticing what they feel like. And all that does is it helps me sort of get out of wherever my brain is going, and is a sign for me to like step back, take a mindful pause so that I can make whatever decision needs to happen, whatever I can sort of control that spin and move it into a direction. So sometimes it's just as simple as doing this for 10 seconds. Just gets you out of that spin, makes you pay attention to something else for a minute, and then you can move forward in a much more mindful way. And 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 that's a very accessible way to get. And you can do that with just about anything. You can do that by looking out and really examining the leaves on a tree for 10 seconds. You can do that by listening to sounds in your area for 10 seconds and trying to really pinpoint where they're coming from. Anything to get you out of your head, into your body a little bit, and give you that pause that helps you then get to somewhere else. And the more you do those
Mm,
things,
mm.
better you get at it. And the more effective they are in helping you really shift into some incredible mindfulness.
Yes, and I think that's a very accessible and very nice practice to do, and I think that will help my listeners too. And that's a thoughtful take to adapt these kinds of accessible practices to make the life more interesting and more easy. So, uh, like my next question would be, what is one body-based tool you recommend that actually works for ADHD brain?
And sorry, what was the question again?
What is one body-based tool that you can
Mhm.
recommend ADHD brains?
Um, there's actually a lot of them, and one that also often feels really inaccessible. uh, Getting some exercise,
Okay.
getting your heart beating for 20 minutes in the morning. There's research out there that says that will take can take make your ADHD symptoms uh a significant amount less. I'm blanking on the statistics, but reduce your ADHD symptoms for almost like 4 or 5 hours in the future.
Okay.
So it's just moving your body, and it's really tells you something about the body mind connection, right?
Yes.
Just moving your body takes away all of these symptoms
Mm.
for hours at a time. Another really interesting one is balancing
Okay.
will really help. So there's something about the cerebellum and ADHD brains that we often are very clumsy, and we're very we run into things and stuff. So I actually have a balance board. You can sort of see it right there. Um
Yes. Yes.
and so just standing on that for 1 minute before I have to do something that I'm uncomfortable with, or before I have to do something that I don't want to do, can really help me move into a more positive direction.
Yes. And
With more
yeah, and they are such nice uh, ideas and practices uh, that one can do, I think, and that's such a needed thing. So my next question is to challenge a myth. Like, what is one widely accepted ADHD truth that you think does more harm than good?
Yeah. I think probably just about anything can be made into a bonus, and
Okay.
just about everything has a light side to it.
Yes.
However, our challenges with rejection, and since it's our sensitivities to rejection and our emotional volatility
Mm.
can be, for one, is very unknown. ADHD people don't think of ADHD as an emotionally volatile
Mm.
um uh, uh, group of traits. But we're very emotionally volatile. Our brains are firing at 100 miles an hour, and we can go from 0 to 1,000 in our, anger scale, or our sadness scale, or our reaction very quickly. Um, and with that also comes this huge sensitivity to any perceived rejection or slight.
Okay.
And part of that is because of the negativity we've grown up about, and, what we've heard about ourselves and all these horrible things
Mhm.
that people have said, and then we internalize about how lazy and stupid we are, or whatever it is that people have been saying about us. Um, we can just be, and part of it is our brain is going fast and there's no breaks, and there's a way to sort of, once that spiral starts, it's just really hard to interrupt. Um, and those are some traits that are just, I see people just be devastated, and I have been devastated. I've lost sleep for 2 years because of, one thing a good friend said to me, and it's just like, and just ruminating on it over and over and over again for 2 years. I mean, learning how to stop that process, it is hard. That was after I became a coach,
Okay.
and learning that you're having that process,
Mm.
that process is happening, and that it doesn't need to happen, and that there's a way to break it is so important. It's really hard.
Yes, and I think that's a much needed information that my listeners should listen to. And thank you for shedding the light on it. And there's a follow up question with it that I can come up with. What's a better and more compassionate narrative that they can replace it with?
Yeah, okay. Um, so I think one of my favorite studies, it's just a study, who knows what's right and what's wrong. But one of my favorite studies is that a group of scientists looked at our genetics, and they think that, well, it wasn't genetics that they looked at, because there's no genetic pointer for ADHD. So I will just say a bunch of scientists got together and hypothesized that, that ADHD is actually an evolutionary trait, an evolutionary benefit, and that our brains actually evolved out of a need to be able to make changes
Okay.
when things aren't good. So our creative, problem solving, novelty seeking brains help, could help, and have helped our societies move into a different direction
Yes.
when things aren't going very well.
Mm.
And I, and even our impulsivity, right? Our impulsivity in this novelty speaking, like, you know what? Things are good right here. I'm going to go over there. I'm not even going to think about it too much, because if I do, I might get scared and I might not do it. But I'm just going to go over there and I'm going to do it. And, um, and sometimes that's led to some amazing discoveries. And, um, and I think that if our society could see that all of our different brains, all of these neurodivergent brain types have amazing gifts of a different way of looking forward. Our societies were meant to evolve, or just like everything on this planet evolved. Our societies are meant to evolve. We're not meant to be stagnant in one place and go backwards and, sit in whatever might have worked once. We're meant to evolve, and I think ADHDers and neurodivergent folks in general are part of that path.
Yes. I think sometimes the society typically tell them as a curse, but sometimes the curses are not really curse; they are blessings. So,
Mm,
what the majority of the society says are not true actually sometimes. And
right.
so, if my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
So on my website, I have pretty much everything that you would need to be able to get to me. So pathwaysforwardcoaching.com is my website. You'll get a little annoying pop-up, but you only get it once a week or something like that. That asks you to sign up for my newsletter. I promise I only send out my newsletter every 2 weeks. So if you sign up, you're not going to get spammed. You can sign up for a discovery call on or I think I just renamed them to strategy sessions because I feel more accurate. So an ADHD strategy session where we can sit and chat about your ADHD and see what path you want to take forward with that. And you can find my book, which just came out, called ADHD Brilliance, and I'll show you a picture of it here. That's my book, and it's called ADHD Brilliant, A Journey into Your Extraordinary Brain. You can find that, and I'll like to order that on my website. And at some point, there'll be a bunch of other links soon. I do a free group group coaching weekly. I do some body doubling weekly, both free, and some other offers than things that are going to be coming up. So it's a good place to go and just sort of see what's up with me and what I'm offering.
That's amazing, and I will make sure to attach all the links and all the details below so that our users and our listeners can find them very easily. So with
Wonderful.
yes, and so with that we have come to the end. So this episode is a reminder that peace doesn't always look calm, and health doesn't always come in straight lines. Thank you, Sue, for showing us how vibrant, brilliant, and embodied an ADHD life can be. If this
Mm.
resonated with you, share it, revisit it, and maybe even you rethink your own story. Till then, stay tuned, stay grounded, and listen to Inner Peace Better.